no one knows what you're selling. No one knows what you're listing if you're not telling them. You have to tell people if you want them to know. Now, there are ways to tell them that are a little less braggy, but you still have to let people know what you're doing. One of my biggest things with education is I really break it down. So if you're looking at a high-level reel where I'm posting a couple of items, you go in my caption and it is broken down to the nitty-gritty, because some people are not listening, some people are phasing, and some people may say, I know she said I need to do something with my credit score. What does that mean? Go in my caption. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do.
World-class lessons from the real estate industry's top 1%. Empowering agents to think bigger and do more to create life by design. Get access to exclusive interviews with top producing real estate professionals. Listen in as we talk about their journey into business, best practices, and lessons learned. Hosted by KIRO, NASRALAH, and John SCIPIONE.
I mean, one thing that we always say in our office is just action is better than perfection, right?
This is Light It Up with Lighthouse Residential.
All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Light It Up podcast. We are thrilled to have with us today Bethany Nolan from Nolan Properties in East Texas. This year, her team last year, I guess, 2022, they closed 45 transactions representing $14 million in total sales volume. Bethany, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank y'all for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Bethany goes on that list of people that I fangirl about because, you know, like I followed you and followed your reels, and I thought everything you were doing was like super creative and super interesting. And I almost can't scroll on Instagram without seeing, you know, another one of your reels. So
that's the aim. I really hope to hear that every time from everyone.
Yeah, it's totally, top of mind. So I DM'd you and you were kind enough. Well, actually, I told you in the beginning, I was DMing your like fake account by accident. Remember we talked about that?
Yes. Those trolls, those spammers, they're everywhere.
Yeah. So today we weren't sure who was going to show up, whether it was you or some sort of internet troll, but
it's me.
I'm glad we got the real you. Awesome.
Yep.
Well, definitely excited to have you on, and congratulations. So you recently just won the 30 Under 30 award for NAR, and it's a big accomplishment. How many people are in there in total that got acknowledged?
30.
How ironic.
So 30 under 30.
Yeah,
it's for 30. Oh, wow. That makes a lot of sense now.
Now you know why I
really
wanted to rehearse that conversation.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Well, congratulations on the 30 Under 30.
Thank you. But hundreds of people do apply, and then they do a top 50, and they release the top 50, and then they go 30 from there. And one of those winners is a popular kind of vote that gets the most. I did not get the popular vote. To be honest, I didn't want it. I wanted to win it on my own accolades and accomplishments. So very proud of that. It's a really neat group of individuals that I've gotten to personally connect with a lot of them. So it's a really great group to be a part of.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Definitely something you can mastermind with and grow with from now on.
We've done masterminds. We have a Facebook group where we do referrals, and just you can ask them anything about property management, anything, because the majority of them aren't competitors. So they are just an open book, and it's been so refreshing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think that's one of the biggest benefits. Like we'd always talk about, like we grew up in Mike Ferry system, and it's like 10% of the value is like the actual coaching calls, and like the rest of it is actually being able to network with those individuals across the nation and learn their secrets and what they're doing, because they openly share and you openly share with them because you're not competing against them.
Yeah, it's an exchange system.
Exactly.
For sure. And I love it.
That's great. I mean, because it's rare. A lot of people say negative things, of course, about NAR, right? Like, they're all sorts of, I don't feel like a lot of times, at least in my experience, that they're doing everything they can to like protect you and like all the things that you pay into it. But like what I think people don't know and read about and hear about are like these, accolades and these groups and stuff that they do collaborate. So I will give them credit for that.
Yeah, a little bit credit.
Yeah. And they really emphasize their education. They don't put on our masterminds, but they're there. So Rob Reuter, who works for NAR, he's there in attendance, shaking hands, making sure he gets to know everyone, which I think says a lot about NAR, to make sure they have one of their staff there in person to see what we're learning, what we're talking about, and what kind of, I would say, the people at the top of the industry in those rooms what they're talking about and what they want and need. So they're paying attention, I promise.
Awesome.
Nice. Well,
Awesome.
Congratulations on that. And let's jump right into
Thank
lightning
you.
rounds.
Let's do it. You have one you want to start with?
Sure. I picked out 3 random ones, not intentionally picked. Should people marry for love or for security?
Can you choose both? I mean, I would say love, but I say you definitely should ask questions at the beginning. I'm single, so I'm not really the pro to answer that one.
Find someone who can give you security and decide if you want to fall in love after that.
I mean, for the most part, when you get older and you're dating, you're looking for that anyway.
I'm 10 years older than her, so I appreciate the relationship advice. Where were you 20 years ago?
Do as I say, not as I do for the most part on that, but we'll all be in good shape.
Cool.
All right, Bethany, would you rather save money or save time?
Ooh, I would rather save time. I'm listening to a book right now, and it's called Who Not How, and it's the importance of bringing in assistants and bringing in different people. I believe Dan Sullivan wrote it, and it's literally talking about that, so that's why that's like a rich subject in me, but definitely time, because you can't get time back, and you can get money back.
100%.
Love that. What's your favorite documentary?
Oh, and I love a documentary. During COVID, I watched one a week. Well, now that you put me on the spot, that's difficult. But I love the docuseries. I love the travel ones, if I guess those could count, because when we weren't able to travel, I really enjoyed those. And it's been the world's best vacation rentals, and it kind of goes into real estate because we have Airbnbs. So that's a docuseries. But documentary, I know everyone's into the Harry and Meghan stuff. I'm not a huge fan of that life, but
Meghan and Harry who?
I'm not. I know. But I just like the insight that it gives on relationships and what other people's lives look like. But documentaries I do are like more docuseries. So I'm sorry, I'm boring like that.
I don't think it's boring. I think it's a good answer.
There's a docuseries called The Defiant Ones with Jimmy Iovine, Dr. Dre, all these people. That's an incredible docuseries you should watch. You'd love it.
I will add it to the list.
It's on... I think it's on
HBO.
It was on HBO initially, but I think it's on Prime now. Check it out.
Okay.
Even if you're not like a huge
Easy.
fan of music and just you being like an entrepreneur in the business world, I think you'd really find it interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, I got one here for you. Would you rather never read another book or never watch another movie?
Never watch another movie.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too.
I love my movies. I love my books, but I'm on a big book kick, and I just think you can learn so much more and have such a wider, expanded vocabulary if you're reading than if you're watching. And if you're watching too much, then you're not going into the world. So go explore and be with the people.
I did see you had a post recently that I thought it was pretty cool. It was a book accountability app, and you said your goal this year was 36 books.
Yes, it's a
Awesome.
great app. I mean, there's no perks from it other than I'm tracking my books whenever, if you said, hey, Bethany, I don't know what to read. Have you read anything that's good? I send it to you and it has my reviews. It has how many, 3 out of 5 stars. I loved it because of this. And I keep up with my friends on it. So I get recommendations, can heart what I want to save. It's a really neat app.
Let's do that.
What's on the top of your list on that app
Books to read or that I've read?
that you've read that you'd recommend?
I love Atomic Habits. That's a hot one right now that everyone loves. And I love that it's very realistic. It's not like, hey, you have to do this, this, and this. It's like, hey, if you want to go to the gym, just go for 5 minutes. Just walk in, look around, walk out. Next day, go for 10 minutes. It's very realistic. But the book that I just told y'all about, Who Not How, it's their other book, and it's an Audible, though. You want to listen to it on Audible. It is called The Gap in the Gain by Dan Sullivan and then Dr. Ben Hardy. And on Audible, they do an unabridged version. And at the back end, they talk. It's like a podcast version where they talk over the chapter and what they explained. And it's, you could worry about I'm not here yet, or you can see, hey, this is how much I've learned to get here. And it's a 4-hour listen. It is quick. It is easy. I'll probably listen to it at minimum twice a year because it was that good.
That's pretty dope. I think Dan Sullivan is also the author of Time Management.
Okay.
He wrote a book about time management there too, which is pretty good. But James Cleary, the Atomic Habits, we did the book club on that one before, which is an awesome book.
And
cool.
You were reading Back on the Market. I just looked this up. This is I screenshot.
Yes.
A realtor's guide to love and life.
We got to learn everything somewhere. One of my good girlfriends gifted me that, and she thought it was cute because it is a real estate agent, Holly Parker, out of New York. She wrote it about her life, but I really think only real estate agents would enjoy it because everything is in the form, like the chapter I'm on, it's about building a strong foundation. Why is a foundation in a home important? Why is it important with you and your life and yourself? It's a really neat way to look at life in the terms of real estate. And so I've enjoyed it. It's not a long read, but I'll give a good review on it when I'm done. I post those all on my Instagram story too, but it's pretty good. I love a dating book here and there, but that one, it's more relatable to the real estate minded people. It's pretty well written.
Is it a rom-com?
No, it is her. It is about her life.
Are there rom-com books?
But she does.
Like, what's rom-com?
It could turn into a rom-com probably. It could be a little Hallmark movie. I love a Hallmark movie, so don't get it twisted.
I picked this one randomly. It just so happened to be on my list.
Yeah.
If you could spend a day with one person, dead or alive, who would it be?
I would probably say Barbara Corcoran. As like a real estate mogul who kind of started from the ground up and got screwed over. I would just love to sit with her and see how she handled men. I started out at probably 25 in real estate as a young woman with everyone that was probably 20 years older than me and all men. And I'm good with it now. I don't have issues. But at the beginning, I remember looking at my dad and saying, look, I want to say yes, sir, and no, sir. And I feel like they're not listening. And Dad was like, you're an adult now. Treat them like the adults they are too. And I just feel like she would give so much insight into, because she's still in the industry. She's never gotten out.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she would just have a huge perspective. And I just think she's hilarious. And I really aspire to just boss up like her.
Well, I've been DMing her. She hasn't yet said yes to the show, but they always do. She will say
it'll
yes.
Happen.
And I promise you, once I have her on, I will connect you. Hold me to that.
I love that.
I
think she is, we got to put it out there. I think she's just really, really neat. And I've read her books, and I'm not like obsessed. I just think she would be such a neat person and have such a cool perspective.
I love it. And I love you.
Awesome.
Nice. So if I was someone in your office, what would I say is like a struggle that you would have with like the men in the industry when you're like first starting, when you're saying you're 25 going in there and you're struggling with it?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing I did to bridge that gap, they assume that you're young, you don't know anything, maybe you don't own a home yet. So what do you know about it? So why would someone use you? Or you're just cute and ditzy and this and that. So what I did to kind of combat that is I became the most educated person in the room that I could be. If I didn't have the years and experience, I had the education. So I got all the designations I could get. I got a designation a quarter. So I got my accredited buyer's representative, seller's representative specialist, accredited luxury home specialist, new home, all of the things to say, hey, I understand it, but you know why I understand it? Because I am taking the courses, podcasts, books. If there's a real estate book, I'm going to read it. If there's a podcast, I may not listen to them all, but I'm going to dabble on the best episodes that I see people recommending. I love them all. It could be from anything from y'all's Light It Up podcast, Broke Agent podcast, to there's old ones called The Honest Real Estate Agent. He hasn't produced an episode in like probably 10 years, maybe 6, but it's good stuff. And he has a book that aligns with it as well. So I just made sure that when I walked in the room, I could confidently know what was happening. My original broker that we're good friends with, he made sure that I knew those contracts forward to backwards. So if you called me and said, Bethany, what's on 12B of the 1 to 4 family contract? I was like, I got it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. I know what's going on. I just made sure that they could not stop me because I knew the industry and I knew the paperwork and I knew the numbers.
Yeah.
That's important, having confidence. And that confidence comes from the competence that you're learning from that material.
Yep.
Would you say that there's still some struggles there with feeling like people to take you serious because you're still under 30?
Not anymore. I feel like I have made myself, in a sense, I've tried to get to know every agent in the area. If I can meet someone in person or go to an event, I'm going to go so that they get to like put a face with a name. I think that's very important. A lot of people look at realtor events and they're like, why do I want to go rub elbows with someone that's not going to make you money or that you can't do business with? Because that is still a part of your business. We're all still colleagues, not competitors. You need to work together with a buyer and a seller. And guess what? If I go to Amy and we've never worked together, but Jane over here wants to work with Amy, and we have the same offer, who does she want to work with? She wants to work with the one she has a relationship with. Yep. So that's been a huge thing of mine. Pre-COVID, I still do it now. I did one social outing a week so I could just go meet people. And I'm very social anyway, so it wasn't difficult. But whether it was a trivia night or going to a realtor event, whatever I went to, I wanted to meet people. Realtors are going to dinner or a happy hour after an event. I'm going to go for like a little bit. I'm probably not going to stay long, but I'm going so they get to know me. So I thought that was a really important part. And I really encourage, we have some younger agents in our office and I will bring them with me. And I've gotten them on committees in our local board to make sure that they're meeting other people to build those relationships so that I'm not the one really pushing it, that they want to.
Awesome.
That's good.
Awesome. Yeah, it sort of makes me think of those times Ava's had some struggles. There's a girl on our team that we've talked about countless times who's 19 and she is an absolute rock star on the phone, but there's been a couple occasions where she goes to meet with a seller and, they see how she's got a real baby face and, she meets with a seller and she gets discouraged sometimes. But no, I think that what you said makes a lot of sense. If you really, really learn the business and educate yourself and get some other designations, like you said, that just further yourself. And, the better you can talk the talk and actually know what you're talking about, the better. It makes up for, lack of years, I guess.
I think it's something to realize that's like when you're younger, you take yourself way too seriously. And you realize that when you don't really care and you start like being yourself, that's where it's like, it doesn't matter and people don't even care. We were on an appointment I was with Ava maybe 3 months ago. And this one lady kept ignoring what Ava would say and then look at me for a response. And I was like, all right, so that's screwing with Ava's with her mind. So I'm just like, so I stopped the presentation for a second. I'm like, take a guess how old she is. Cause I know that was obviously a reason that was bothering the lady. So I'm like, let me just put it out there. It's not that serious. I'm like, take a guess how old she is. She's like, I don't know, maybe 20, 19, whatever, or 21. I'm like, no, she's 19 and she's a rock star. She's like one of the top people in the office. She's like, oh my God, girl, good for you. I've been working since I was your age too. Yeah. And all the stress of that kind of went down.
Humanized it.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So it's not taking it too seriously or not really caring because they're not really probably thinking about you. And them seeing that you probably care how you're perceiving them is what's making it feel weird. So it's something to be... just be yourself in it more than anything else.
And it's not stressing if you don't know the answer. I think people get really hyped up that if you ask me something, I'm like, hey, I don't know, but I will find out and I'll get it to you. I'll find the answer. I don't have it right now, but I'll get it. It's okay. But if you can come prepared on certain things, come prepared. Know the comparable solds in the area. Know what everything is sold for. Has something sold in the past 6 months to a year? You should know that before you go into that showing so that you are coming in more confident. Or if you're selling something that you can be confident on it. But if you don't know what you don't know. So just tell them you'll find a solution.
When we were talking about it earlier is your involvement in your community and being, 29 and being involved. Like I feel like when I get those emails from my building, I'm like, I ain't going to none of those meetings. F those people.
Which building?
In Crystal, where I live, where it's like, oh, we're having this meeting for this. I'm like, you guys can be involved. I'm not getting involved. That takes a lot to want to be involved, especially where you're putting yourself out there. How did that start for you?
So I grew up, my parents really instilled in us to be very, very involved from being little kids to high school. And then in college, they kind of had a thing, if you're really involved. You don't have to have a job in college. So what did I do? I got really involved in my sorority and in different items. And when I moved home, yeah, I could have chosen the easy way out and said, hey, I'm not going to work. Now, when I lived in Houston for a quick stint before I moved home, and I worked like crazy, but I still got involved in our local alumni group from my university. Just, it's the best way to meet people. So if you're doing it for anything other than just making relationships and friendships, do that. But when I moved home, it's really more of a pride in your community. I feel like as a real estate agent, there's no better way to know what's going on in your community than to be involved in your community. You know firsthand, you're meeting all the business owners, all the people in your industry, anybody that just lives there and enjoys being around. And then guess what? When you have a question and you need to call someone on the city council, someone that works for the city, anything, you've met them. I'm part of our junior league, Rotary Club, a lot of different boards, but I've learned, you're going to meet someone different every time you go into one of those meetings, or that should be your goal, is to at least meet one new person. And then you've already made that key connection point. And that's huge. I mean, I will preface, I am 7th generation from my county, so I was already coming home to be involved. So I'm not going to act like I had to find it from the ground up, because I knew a lot of the people, but I pushed myself to go be in the junior league, which none of my people were in. I pushed myself to go be in Rotary, which none of my family members were in, to where I was making my own wave being back home. So I think that's important, that if it's somewhere you're already from, go find something different, because you know those people and those people know you. You can still do it, but go find a new way. Yeah. And even if the community involvement is not necessarily your volunteer time, go join a trivia group. Go just to your community events. There were Christmas tree lightings. There are different events that people do that you can just go and be a part of it, because as a real estate agent, you should know what's going on and know what's happening and what people enjoy.
Yeah, and I think it's important to, I don't know, I think that was before we started actually recording today. You were telling us that not only are you this involved, but you don't have any children, right? Like you're 29, you're single. It's not like you're married with 3 kids that have soccer, baseball, and CCD, and you're just trucking them from event to event and meeting all the parents, and that's where your business is coming from. You're out there, getting yourself involved in all these different events.
Yeah, and that was a real challenge, because in all the real estate books and all the things are like, go get in the PTA, go meet the soccer moms and soccer dads, and I'm like, I can't, that's weird. I can't do that. I don't have nieces and nephews. Yeah. I can't.
It's like, who are you here to watch? Nobody. I'm just here to watch your kids.
I'm just trying to meet people. Yeah. But I found a natural transition. When I first moved back home, I started trivia nights with friends. Then I got in junior league, Rotary Club, different boards, different ways, different social atmospheres. A lot of people went to universities. Go find your local alumni group. It's not that difficult to find a way to get involved, but do a minimum of 2 organizations. If you're going to give yourself a goal, a minimum of 2 that aren't connected, and then 1 in your realtor board just to meet other realtors.
Great. Okay. Well, I think that's to touch upon what you had said before too. It's one of the things that we always like to say is that collaboration is the new currency. And there's so many realtors, like we touched upon this before when you were talking about how you now can collaborate with the other 29 people and 30 under 30. Mm-hmm. And, no one feels like you're stepping on each other's toes. You're not competitors. We've had people on this show that are other, top producing agents in our marketplace, and people would look at us like we're crazy. Like, why would you have your competitor on the show? And, really, it's very rare that we're stepping on each other's feet or going into a listing appointment where the other person's coming out. Yeah. That doesn't happen as much as people might think. So, I guess what I'm saying is it's okay to collaborate and share ideas. If Bethany was, in the same marketplace as me, do I want to tell her where my best lead source is? Probably not. But we can share ideas of what's working, what's not working, and that sort of thing. So, again, I just like to reiterate that message that you can share ideas with other realtors and you can network with other realtors, because like you said, if that agent, especially if they're in your marketplace, if they get 2 deals on their desk, right, and they're both apples to apples, it's just human nature to want to work with the person that you have a relationship with.
Yeah.
It is. And, I have real estate agents in my market. We talk on the phone, and one got a listing after I did, and I got a listing that he didn't. And we keep in touch, but I called him one day and I was like, hey, I can't figure out this email listserv thing. What do you know? And he's like, I don't know. I'll find out real quick. And guess what? If there's a deal that we're working on together, we want to prioritize each other. And we're going to bring the best offer because we just enjoy working together. We'll never be in the same office. He runs his own crew and he does a great job, but we see each other and you just want to support. But the collaboration tool, I don't know if y'all remember Clubhouse.
Yeah.
When it came out, Clubhouse was like the best tool for that. It got a little monotonous after that where people kept saying the same stuff. But that's
Sure.
what I loved about Clubhouse is it was a mini mastermind with other real estate agents that weren't in my market. So we could go in and I could say, hey, this is not working for me when I'm going into marketing. I want to find a unique way on print marketing. What do you have? And 10 people would come up and be like, oh, I do these insane postcards, or I do these welcome to the neighborhood cards that come through after I sell a home. And I'm like, whoa, would have never thought of that. But you don't want to collaborate on that with someone local. You want other people. And that's what I've loved about the Instagram community is so many people, other realtors will DM me and be like, hey, teach me this, or I have a question about how you film or how you market. I'm an open book. I'm really not hiding anything because at the end of the day, I'm me. Y'all are you. No one's going to do it the way we do it. Everyone's going to put their own spin, their own personality, their own voice on it. So whatever I share, it's still never going to be a duplicate of me. I will always be Bethany Nolan and represent me. No one can take that from me.
Yeah, that's a good one. Remember that quote that said, if you don't make your own brand and be out there, someone else will do it for you. So by you constantly being on social media and constantly putting on content, man, I got all the flavor bitches say I'm delicious. Who you are, it helps not have someone else create that story for you, right? Where it's like, oh, all realtors are the same or whatever the case it is. So I think that's powerful to go with that too.
Well, like Jazz, who we had on last week, I can't remember, 1 or 2 weeks ago. We had a gentleman on. I'll share his profile with you. His name is Jazz Takar. I hope I'm saying that right. He's in Canada. And one of the things he said, my goal is to put out so much content that I'm top of mind. And that when I do meet with a prospective client, he's like, I have leverage, which was an interesting way to look at it because I'm not trying to sell them on me already. They've come down and come to my office and they were willing to meet with me because of what they've already found, right? So it's almost like through social, you can create almost this library of experiences that sellers or prospective buyers can find and do their due diligence on you before they meet with you, right? And here's the best part.
Credibility.
You control it all, right? It's not like reviews that are out there that somebody else has decided what their experience was. It was like, no. I made those videos. I made that content. I put that stuff out there and I get to choose what's out there and what's not. So the fact that a lot of people are not putting stuff out there is still shocking to me. So I think that's a good segue, Bethany. Let's talk about what your focus has mainly been at least from my perspective, has been edutainment type stuff, right? Where you're
yes,
it's entertainment and education, if that wasn't enough for some people out there. Putting those two things together. And I think you've done a great job at it. Of course, I think I checked it today. You're up to something like almost 40,000 followers on Instagram. Talk to us about I'll use journey. KIRO always uses the word journey. Talk to us about your journey. Okay.
Sound like the Bachelor franchise.
When you decided to really go all in on social and when did that happen? And talk to us about how it all came to light.
Yeah, so I'll take you kind of back because I think it makes a lot of sense on my journey. So my undergrad and my master's are in communication and journalism. My undergrad's a journalism focus and my master's is a public relations focus. And I actually went to go work for a global PR firm for about 2 years in Houston and got to do some really, really cool projects. So I really learned a lot while I was there. And that is kind of where my passion is the PR, the media, the social media of it all. And so when I found out I could marry real estate, which I love and is my passion, with that passion of social media and pulling that in, it was a win-win for me because it doesn't feel like work. So it hits me a little different than it will most people, but I think it's important to understand that I have a professional experience in it. I started in real estate in 2017, August. And I did not start an Instagram page until probably March of 2018. And I didn't do it because I felt like it was a little braggadocious to just post sold, listed here or there. Then I realized no one knows what you're selling. No one knows what you're listing if you're not telling them. You have to tell people if you want them to know. Now, there are ways to tell them that are a little less braggy, but you still have to let people know what you're doing. Because I always hear the controversy of, don't go post a sold photo. You need to tell someone that you're closing deals, so figure out a way that makes you comfortable to tell them. So I started that in about 2018. It took about 2 years for me to get to about 10,000 followers, and that's because I flipped my own personal home. And a lot of people followed on that journey, which went into my real estate career, so I thought that made sense. But then Reels came in. And I'm from a family on my mom's side of educators, so that's kind of where my edutainment side comes in. And I just have the personality where I wanted people to not see pictures of me, but to get a feel of my personality, because I felt when you looked at my Instagram, it was just, here's a picture. If you're reading the caption, you get to know me. But other than that, you don't know me. And so I got to finally choose Reels to showcase a little bit of maybe what I'd call the sassafras side. And so that's where it really came in, and it kind of blew from there. So that was probably March of 2020. And then I grew almost double. Like last January, I had like 18,000 followers, and this January I've doubled it basically to almost 38,000. So it's been a consistent thing that I think most people have to understand is it is all about consistency and posting. Not that I post every day, but I post about 5 to 6 reels a week. I did personality videos, which I started back in like September, just to get to know me. This is Bethany. I was going to do them where I educated people on real estate, but I really focused my reels on education. And I really dive deep in my captions to where I did not want to repeat that. I just wanted people to get to know me, get to know what I like, get to know my community, and use those. And then I have my pictures and carousels for education or getting to know the area or my solds. But one of my biggest things with education is I really break it down. So if you're looking at a high level reel where I'm posting a couple of items, you go in my caption and it is broken down to the nitty gritty, because some people are not listening. Some people are phasing, and some people may say, I know she said I need to do something with my credit score. What does that mean? Go in my caption. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do, because I want it to be utilized in every which way or form, whether you only read, whether you only listen, or whether you only watch. So I want people to understand it from those different senses. And then I think the same goes for storytelling. I also do a huge emphasis on that. So if I close on a home, I'm telling you about the story. Was it rocky? Was it great? Did we fall through a couple of properties before we found this one? I've had clients hire me because they said, well, you didn't look like you only sold high-end properties. You told me that you helped this client with their first-time home. You told me that we had to make sure it passed FHA. It took a couple of tries. This is why it couldn't pass FHA. So that storytelling portion has gotten me clients by just being real. So there's a lot of key elements that have helped it grow, but it's the consistency part of me just being there that I think has really helped. And I play with things. I'm still playing with new things every day. I'm going to try different videos soon. So it's always new.
Can you tell that this is her passion?
Yeah, I wanted to know what kind of videos they were going to try. So
I love it. Yeah.
That was a great answer. I mean, I feel like I have 3 or 4 follow-up questions.
Yeah.
What struck me at first was you said, I forget how much time went by. You said I got my license and I didn't do it on Instagram, or I didn't talk about real estate on Instagram for
March 18.
However long it was.
Yeah, like 9 months.
9 months, which is interesting to me because so many people these days are like, okay, I just got my license. My name is John Smith, and now I start John Smith Realtor at Instagram. And it's like, I feel like they think that they have to do that before they even get their business cards or, ever do a deal. Because they have to have this separate Instagram page.
Yeah.
And
I think it's important. I wanted to know my brand, and I wanted to know who I wanted to come across as. And I think, as we all know, branding is so important. And so I didn't just want to be throwing stuff out. very much I've learned lately just to rip the Band-Aid off, but I wanted to know who I wanted to be before I came out with my page. And then I finally was like, okay, here's how I want to present it. Not that it was a color scheme, not that it was a font thing or an aesthetic thing, which I'm all about aesthetics, but it was really more of what is my message going to be? What is my passion and my purpose on this? And why would someone want to follow me? Because I'm not a hyper localized page. So I'm not just getting people in Texas, but I want my East Texas followers because I'm going and trying new restaurants. I'm going to new places and exploring, but I'm educating people in real estate where I'm getting referrals from agents in New York, agents in California that have people moving to my area because if I can't help them, I have a sister who's an agent in Austin. Like I have connection points. So it's bigger than just getting local people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. And I think the thing I would add to that too is you didn't do the Instagram from day one because you didn't know what you were talking about just yet, right? Like you said, you were young, you were still getting educated, you were learning the business, you were getting some deals under your belt, apparently a lot of them very quickly, which is awesome for you. You built that track record and then you did it. I mean, that's something we talk about with a lot of people. It's sort of funny because this world of social media, you can be anybody you want to be, right? You can take pictures in front of other people's cars and other people's properties and other people's, material items, and you can really be anybody you want. I mean, you can go take a picture on like a fake private jet these days. Like, I don't even know. And you can be anything. So
I've seen them.
It's humorous. But I think that's what's in the mindset of some of these younger agents. It's like, well, I just have to, make this realtor page. So I'm glad that you you seem very well thought out and strategic with the content that you're putting out. So like we said, a lot of it is edutainment. So would you say your main goal of your content is to educate the consumer? So it's really mainly for buyers and sellers?
Yeah, it's for both buyers and sellers. It really is. I really have a huge emphasis on education, and I want people to understand what it takes and to feel prepared. I have people that will never live in my area, and they're like, hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm learning so much that I didn't know I need to do, and I'm getting with a lender. And guess what? I'm like, I can connect you with a lender. I have lenders in multiple states. Let me help you out. But it's really just helping people. And then I have clients that have been following me for 3 years and they're like, I haven't been ready, but hey, I'm learning and I'm waiting and I'm saving things. And I think it's neat. I'm big on analytics. I made sure that when I was at that PR firm that they trained me in them. So I made sure I was learning every nitty gritty piece, and I pay attention to how many times things are shared and how many times they're saved and what hits. And I did a post recently, and it's, how to reach your home buying goals in 2023. And I listed 10 items. Very simple. Check your credit score, save for a down payment, get an extra income, this, and that. It was saved over 400 times in like a 24-hour span. And I was like, that hit because it was simple. Someone can keep it as a good list in their phone. Got it. People love a listicle. Noted. We're going to keep that rolling.
Is that a real word, listicle?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You son of a listicle.
Yeah. So it's when you're looking at something and it's like 12 things you should know, and it's just a list of them. That's a listicle.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're A/B testing what works, and doing.
I'm learning. I got 2 pages of notes already. So
we love to see it. Yeah.
Like, walk us through how you come up with some of those ideas. Are you the kind of person who sees someone else's reel and you're like, okay, I can take that topic and do it better? Are you somebody who's just driving and you're like, okay, a buyer just called me with a question. You're like, maybe more people need to know the answer to this, and that's my next reel? Like, where do they come from? How do you think of them? Do you script them out and then record them? Do you batch them all in one session? Talk to us about that. Tell us everything.
I will tell you everything. It's a lot of different ways. I consume, what I would say step one is I consume a lot of content, and I am not consuming other realtors' content, because my content needs to be genuine to me. So if I'm pulling it from another realtor, guess what? The way they said it, the way they worded it in my industry is going to be the only way I can think to word it. So the easiest way not to, go follow fitness influencers, go follow food influencers, mommy bloggers, anyone else. anyone other than the industry you're in and utilize from them. Take, reuse, imitate, whatever. But what I do is I see what I like, whether it's Reels, whether it's TikToks, I save it. I come back to it later. I batch every Tuesday morning and I batch about 7 Reels. And right now, I'm going to be quite honest, I have about 21 Reels batched out that I already filmed, but I'm still going to do it every Tuesday, even though I'm ahead, because I want to stay on top of certain trending sounds. And you can't stay on top of trending sounds if you're doing it 30 days out at a time. It's just not feasible with the way social media works. So I've found that week by week I do it. And the reason I do Tuesdays is I have Rotary in the morning right after. So I know I'm going to be working from home. I do that. I'm dressed, hair and makeup done, change a couple of outfits, and then I film them. I save some of my favorites because if you ever log out of Instagram, all your Reels go away. It's happened to me like 2 times, so don't be me. But I do all those, and then I leave it. I do not edit it. I leave it. I come back later, and I edit it with the content, with the ideas. And how I get those ideas of what I'm going to talk about is a majority different ways. I ask clients. I have a good friend. I just helped her buy a home. And I said, okay, you follow me on social media. You follow what I do. What was a surprise to you in real estate? What shocked you? She's like, well, I didn't know you could go and walk through an inspection. I was like, okay, noted. She said, I didn't know this is what the closing costs cost. And I was like, okay, I've done one on that, but I haven't done it in a couple of weeks. I can redo that. That's old news now. So I ask my clients, I ask my friends who are going through the process at that time. So utilize them. Then I follow people like Keeping Current Matters, Bigger Pockets, different news media. I think they have really good data if you're wanting a data-driven edutainment piece. And then Pinterest. Pinterest has incredible graphics broken down of different things to give me ideas of what to say, and I can save them all on one Pinterest board and have it there. I can save websites on that Pinterest board and come back to it. So it's really a holding place for me, and I just keep a lot of different ideas in my phone. One of my ideas I'm going to do a video on next week is how to do your homestead. Why is it important? Because that's relevant right now at the beginning of the new year. So I think it's really staying relevant, but also, what do people not know? They don't know what they don't know. So what we think is easy, you don't need 20% for a down payment. Let's break it down. What does a USDA loan do? What is an FHA loan? And that's kind of how I come up with it. And so then I go in, I add the quick caption. I only do high level on the video. And I go in really nitty gritty on the caption. I want to run out of space where I have to go remove words so that I feel like people are getting so much value from that post that they're going to keep coming back because I'm giving them something.
No, that's good. If you had to track the outcome from that, because you're going the extra mile and you're making sure you're tracking what's working and you're being on top of what's trending. What is the outcome? What would you say is the percentage of business that you've received from either referrals from Instagram or from buyers or sellers directly from the platform?
I'd say this year was 30 to 40%. And the year before that, it was maybe 5%. So over the past year, I track. I even track on my sales. I have notes exactly who it came from.
Nice.
But that's where it's come from. And it is, some are just realtor to realtor referrals. I will never forget when I first started my page and all these realtors were following me. And I'm like, stop following me, you guys. I want my East Texas people. I want clients. And then it finally clicked. All these people, they're like, hey, I don't have anyone in East Texas. You're in East Texas. Can I refer to you? And I'm like, oh, ding, ding, ding. That I have realtor to realtor. I have clients. I have sellers. Someone's reached out to me. Their mom lives in my area. So you just never know who your clientele is going to be. And that's why I don't like to hyper focus on it. I want to be a little more broad to buyers and sellers because some people only do buyer content. Some people only do seller. Some people only do investor and they hone in. You can do it all.
Yeah.
It's okay because you don't want to ever single someone out and think that you can't help them.
Yeah. from my perspective, Bethany, if I'm talking to a past client or a current client, like you said, I'm trying to get an idea, and they're like, I didn't know I had an option between VA loan or an FHA loan and a conventional loan, and that becomes a topic that I want to talk about. I feel like I could be pretty good about making it educational, but the entertainment part I would worry about. So how do you make?
That's a valid concern.
How do you make?
I'm just kidding.
I'm like 10 times funnier than you.
He's gonna be like, "This is FHA."
How do you make something that's a relatively boring topic, right? FHA loans, exciting. How do you make how do you sit do you ever do a reel and you're like, okay, wow, that was informative, but I just don't think it was that funny, and then you try to find a way to make it actually a little bit more interesting and exciting, or do you not dissect it that much?
I don't dissect it that deep. So when I film my stuff, I have no idea what the subject's going to be. I just film the content. I'm not that deep on it. And then I find content that makes sense with that sound, that makes sense with what I'm doing. Now, for y'all, if you're like, hey, I don't feel comfortable making it funny, if that's not your personality, don't do it. Do what works for you. I really enjoy Finance Cowboy. He just talks to the screen. That's what he does. He is very straightforward, to the point, but I pay attention. I want to watch what he's saying, and it doesn't have to be silly. He always has a good hook at the beginning, which is always what's going to win you, but he's just talking and that works for him. I have a more humorous personality. I'm a little more extroverted, so I feel like I don't dance, really. I really don't. I'm not into that vibe. Kudos to anybody that wants to do that. You do you, but I'm just wanting to show my personality, but I don't dive deep enough to where I'm like, what I did's not going to work for how to purchase a home in your 20s. That's not going to vibe. I just make the content and I come back to it, because I feel like you really are going to burn yourself out. Everyone's different, but you burn yourself out when you're putting that much pressure on a video.
Yeah.
It's one video. So just give them each breaks and plan accordingly. And that's why I have a lot of notes for content. That's why I have a lot of options on what to film. I have probably 400 photos saved on my Instagram of trending sounds. And I just scroll through and see what I'm vibing that day and what's going to fit with me. And some days I'm not in a happy-go-lucky, smiley mood to do those. And I'm just going to do something different. So I do what fits the vibe.
Nice. So would you say that there was a 6 or 7x return or increase in referrals from Instagram in general due to just you being consistent with the same kind of content, or did you switch what you were actually just throwing out there?
It was like a 7.5x.
Well, from 5 to 30, that's 6, no?
He's analytical.
I would say same I've kept my content very consistent from the same in the beginning with my reels. So it was just the consistency. It's really hard. December and November are low months, just low engagement, low views. And so you get discouraged. And I kept reminding myself that last January, it was a booming month for me. And I got a lot of followers. I got a lot of engagement. It's not all about the followers. You want the engagement. Mm-hmm. So don't get focused on the following, because if you have 100,000 followers and only 100 people are engaging, that's an issue. You need a lot of engagement to ensure that the people that are following you want to, which is why I don't do any giveaways. I don't do anything. There's nothing wrong with them. I just don't do them because I don't want someone following me just to unfollow me because they want something free. I want people to want to follow because of the content that I'm providing. So I would say it was from the consistency and just keeping on doing it. I did not start out doing 5 to 6 reels a week. I started out with 1 to 2. And when people ask me that, I'm like, do 1 to 2. That is easy. You can literally sit at your desk and say something.
Yep.
It does not have to be that deep, but do it. And then if you feel comfortable and confident with it, batch a couple. And then you have a couple. And I'm not the best example. I edit my content at night before I go to bed. You may not want to do what I do, but it works for me. I don't have kiddos running around. I'm not taking care of anything. So that's my nighttime routine is I edit some content, go to bed. When I wake up, I post my content, it's done.
Nice.
So
if 30% came from Instagram, what would you say is the percentage of business that came through from community involvement?
I mean, repeat clients and community involvement is probably going to be my 50%, other than random new clientele from word of mouth. Yeah, the community involvement's huge. I'm getting people just randomly messaging me that it's not even the people I'm on boards with that are using me. They told a friend to come to me. And
Nice.
that's when the network just expands, because they see how serious I take my business. They see how serious I take my board involvements. And I'm not a quiet person in a boardroom. I'm not, and I know I'm young. I don't care. If something doesn't feel right, if it doesn't feel like it is going to benefit the community or benefit this organization, I'm going to speak up because someone has to. And
That's
I
where the
think that's
sassafras
benefited
comes out.
me. That's where sassafras comes out.
I'm going to start
But
using
I
that.
think you should. You should. It's a good word. But I think that's where people go, oh, well, if this is how she is and she doesn't know everyone in this room, how is she going to be in a work environment? How is she going to fight for my best interest or my client or my friend's best interest? So that community involvement's been really, really huge on getting new clientele and just meeting new people. I did it for friendships, to be honest. When you move home from somewhere you lived your whole life, all of your friends change and they get married, they have kids, there's just different friendships. And I was like, I want a different crew. I want to meet more people. And it turns out sometimes they do turn into clients, and that's a plus, but that's not the reason. I don't have a name tag. I don't wear branded items. I call it the formality of informality. No one has to know that you're in real estate sometimes. You should leave the room with everyone knowing, but you shouldn't have to wear a name tag to tell everyone.
Yeah.
That's a good mindset to have. You know,
I like it. It goes in line with what you were saying before. You should tell everybody that you sold the property without actually telling them, like, I sold it for $520, like in a creative way, right?
It's a humble way to do it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I don't like the bragginess. I don't like to showcase those things in that manner. And I've seen the agents that do the name tags and all that. That's fine. Do what works for you, or the ones that have to wear heels. I'm showing up in my very colorful dress and my sandals that I enjoy, and I'm going to be me, but it's my fault if you don't know who I am at the end of the day. That's on me.
I like that.
Yeah. So the question for you, and this goes a little more off topic. I know we're talking about really the business and production part of it, but being a young, beautiful woman, single, and making money, how is it, how do you struggle with, like, when you're dealing with people, especially a lot of women, especially if they're making a lot of money at a younger age, it's challenging in social areas where there's other, like, to get to know people, make friends, go outside of that bubble. So if someone's listening to this and they're in your shoes, what are some pieces of advice that you would give them to overcome that kind of mental hurdle? Because it's a mental hurdle in itself, to be like, you know what, let me just focus on this and not focus on this.
Yeah, I'm very much a you do you and I'm going to do me type of person regardless, but I have friends from all walks of life. I'm friends with anybody in every career path, and I want to make sure I understand your question though. Just repeat that. I don't want to answer it wrong.
Do you find it difficult to, when you go out when you're dating, do you find that people are intimidated by your success and by your accomplishments?
Got it. Same page. So yes, they are, but I have realized I'm not going to change who I am or bring myself down to make you feel higher. And I will find someone that is on that same level. And I have found people that are, and that are open to it, but I'm very transparent from the front on who I am and what I do. And I don't hide it, because the second you hide it, they're going to feel emasculated or that they aren't doing enough, because, to be honest, in my area, it's not a high income producing area. I'm going to find people on my level or under, and that's okay. That does not bother me, but I'm not going to hide my success. I'm not going to hide that I can do these things, or I love to travel and I love to do this, from anyone. And so I've just found it in a way that I'm not bragging in the beginning. I just say, hey, I do real estate. This is how much I don't say anything on numbers or anything, but I do well. And so they do with that what they want.
To dig deeper in there, how did you get to that point? Because there was, for instance, this summer, actually, I was we were on vacation, and a friend of mine, she was telling me that she was struggling to disclose to this guy that she was dating how much she was making, and she just felt really bad about it. But she also felt like she was bringing herself down to like have to change her outfit to just hide that, right? And I know there's a lot of people who go through that.
No.
But it's definitely different for women versus men, right? Because men will brag about it. Women will be like, shit, if this is a person that's not equal or higher, then they have to.
I think you see both sides brag or whatever, but
Yeah. I mean, I don't find myself to be a braggy person. I kind of want to always try to be humble, and I don't really care that people even know how much I bring in. I think if you get deep enough in the relationship, obviously you need to say some stuff. But I mean, I've just been brought up in a household. I have 2 sisters. My parents raised us to be very strong women and to be very confident in who we are. So I've never not known that, if that makes sense. I've never walked into a room and let a guy make me feel less than, because if he wants to sass me, I can sass it back.
love it.
So I've never dated. I've never been in that situation of dating where I felt like I needed to refrain from who I am, what I do, what I'm involved in, because we were raised to be that way and to care for ourselves. But if someone, always looked at the mindset, if I find someone and they want to join along beside me, not above me, not below me, but beside me, let's roll. But that's the only way we're going to do it.
Love it.
But I've just been raised with that. So, I mean, I guess my thing would just be to have the confidence to say, this is who I am, and don't hide it. Dress how you normally dress, act how you normally act. We've had, for example, my sister has been told before, one of her friends was like, well, don't wear all your jewelry on the first date. They don't need to know. And I was like, I was like, wear it all. Let him know exactly what he's getting himself into. If he does not feel confident to go into that, then walk away, because that was never going to pass the second date.
Put it all out there.
Just cut it from the beginning. And I think that comes with being dating for a while, I'm sure, and with older age, but it's just realizing those people, if you feel like you have to bring yourself down, they're not ever going to be on your level or want to be. So cut it from the beginning.
That's good.
Love it.
I hope that answered it.
Good question and a great answer.
No, you did really well answering that. It doesn't have to be only in dating. It could also be in friendships too, right? When you come back to a place that you were not, that you haven't been there in a while, like you said, friends move on, get married, whatever the case it is. But then the friends that sometimes linger, that are, not focusing on what they're trying to achieve, you either bring yourself down or you have to just move forward and focus on you. So that was just a great answer.
Well, I think it can mess with you too if you don't. I mean, I'll give you an example. I know an agent recently who was posting about some recent success. I'll leave it at that, right? And somebody commented on her picture, like or her post, "We get it. You make a lot of money," or something. And there's always haters and there's always people that say stupid things out there, right? But like that can really mess with you if you're, when you're about to post your next post or your next accolade or your next reel.
You think twice.
Yeah, you think twice, right? It can certainly hinder your growth or hinder your mindset.
Turtleneck guy.
But it's stupid. It's stupid. So, but I think you handled that really, really well. And go ahead.
I think it's a good point too for friendships. As you said, I have hit a phase where, you do the friendship breakups and nothing happened. But I hit my first one not that long ago where it's just like we just phased. But I've done a lot of reflection where I'm only wanting intentional friendships. And my younger sister's in college, and we were talking about it on a drive today. And I just said, you have to pay attention to, not that your friends have to give you anything, but do they bring you joy? When you are done hanging out with them, did they drain you? Or were you happy you got to catch up and chit chat and hang out? It's as little as that, but those friendships should build you up and not drain you. And the intentionality of it, you have to pay attention that it is, you want quality over quantity. And I grew up with a lot of friends, and I went to college with a lot of friends, and seeing kind of quantity or quality go over the quantity, it sucks when you get older, to be honest, but it really makes you open your eyes to who you hang around, because you are who you hang around. So if you don't want to be out drinking and you don't want to be out late at night, then that's not what you need to be hanging out with. If you want to be working out, that's what you need to surround yourself around. Or if you want to be a successful or someone, I have friends I just did a dinner with, and they were like, what are our New Year's resolutions? Let's hold everyone accountable. And I was like, wow, this is my circle. Like, these are my people. I'm so happy I found y'all. So I just think it's also important in the friendship world too.
No, that's beautiful. There was a book Ed Milet wrote that's called The Power of One More. I'm probably saying that wrong. He wrote that there's two kinds of friendships. The one that's convenient is the one you need to remove yourself from. The one that's inconvenient in a way where, you know, if you need something, that person's there. If they need something, you're there. It's inconvenient for your schedule, but you're willing to go to do it, right?
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are worth keeping. It's not the one that's just like, yeah, you want to grab a drink? I'm always free. I'm at the bar.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. And your circle gets smaller, but you feel like you have more when your circle does shrink, which is great.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Awesome.
Any
Well,
other
on that note, Bethany, I'm aware of our time here. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I think people will find that highly beneficial. We always try to bring people to the platform that will provide tremendous value, and you've certainly done that today. So thank you for spending some time with us. And if people want to reach out to you or send you a referral, Instagram, I imagine, is probably the best way to reach you. Would you agree?
Yes, I'm at Bethany Nolan Realtor on every platform. It is easy to find me. And if you don't have this, people that are listening don't have the same name on every platform, get it changed now. Make it easy for people to find you.
I love that.
Bethany Nolan Realtor is the handle, right? Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And East Texas, if you want to send her some business, please do. She's certainly going to take care of them as if they were family.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yep.